Welcome back to Central University. This is Core 52, and we are in chapter 10, a chapter entitled Prophecy. Just a short verse from Psalms 2:7, which says, "You are my son, today I have begotten you." You can't study the Old Testament and the Bible without learning and understanding a lot about prophecy. It's such a fundamental part of our scriptures. It's a fundamental part of our faith. Because in order for us to come to grips with believing in Jesus, one of the things that we need to see is that Jesus fulfilled prophecy. This was something that is layered all throughout the Old Testament and fulfilled throughout the New Testament. And it's critically important in understanding why we believe Jesus to be the Messiah. 1,000 years before Jesus was born, the Bible predicted a coming Messiah. The word Messiah means anointed one, in reference to a king's coronation. Israel's Messiah was to sit on David's throne, rescue Israel as Moses did, and bless all nations as Abraham's offspring. And so in those short words there by Mark Moore, you see that there's prophecies regarding the Messiah all throughout the Old Testament, and in connectedness to all different characters in the Old Testament. David's throne, that the Messiah was going to rescue Israel like Moses did, that the Messiah was going to bless all nations as Abraham's offspring. And so this theme, this thread all through the Bible of prophecy is there. And if we're going to understand the scriptures, we have to understand more and more about prophecy, and especially prophecy in regards to Jesus. In the Psalms and other passages, in Isaiah and Jeremiah and Zechariah and Micah, there's all these prophecies about Jesus. They told us where he would be born, how he would die, the price of his betrayal, what his ministry would look like, all those things. There are, as are mentioned in the chapter, there are more than 60 major prophecies concerning the coming Messiah throughout the Old Testament. And this is important for us to have this for our faith. Because the same thing that happened to, let's say, the disciples or in Jesus' time, one of the things that happened consistently is that Jesus didn't meet all their expectations. And so sometimes that happens in our life as well. He doesn't meet all of our expectations. Certain things don't happen the way that we expected them to happen. So what do we have to turn back to keep our faith secure? Well, one of those things is prophecy. I'm going to read this passage from Mark Moore. He says, "This is especially important when Jesus doesn't meet our expectations. Even in his own day, he wasn't the Messiah the Jews had hoped for. He was not a warrior king who conquered enemies, but he was a suffering Savior who died for them. Where they hoped for liberation, God granted salvation. They wanted their borders secure, but God wanted their borders abolished so all people could have access to him." And so what happened is there were times that some of the things that they had set their heart on that the Messiah would be, Jesus wasn't that. It was different because Jesus was altering their expectations and flipping things and doing things differently. And those same things happen today with you and me. So often we have it in our mind of how God's going to be, how he's going to react, what he's going to do, and how do we respond when he doesn't meet those expectations. It's so critical to see these things, to understand how people missed it all throughout time, and how easy it is for you and I to miss something with God because we already have our expectations set a certain direction. Today, many Jews are still missing Jesus because their expectations have been set a certain direction. But many Jews have found Christ. We call them Messianic Jews. Many Jews have turned to Jesus. and they've discovered the Messiah. And it's a fascinating study to look at prophecy throughout time and how Jesus met those things. And some of the key points that Mark Moore lists at the end of this chapter is only Jesus has successfully claimed to be the Messiah. And what he means by that is no other person could claim to be the Messiah and fulfill the prophecies that were made about him. No other person has ever been able to do that. And messianic prophecies are compelling evidence for Jesus because they're so specific and because so many are impossible to intentionally fulfill. In other words, there are things that Jesus had no control over. One prophecy mentions that the Messiah would come riding in on a donkey. Well, Jesus could have known that prophecy. And as he's coming into Jerusalem, he could have said, "Get me a donkey because I want to fulfill prophecy." And that's fine. But there's so many prophecies that Jesus could not fulfill. Prophecies that none of his bones would be broken. He had no control over that. Prophecy that the price that was paid for his betrayal would be 30 pieces of silver. He had no control over that. Jesus could not control all of those things. He couldn't control where he was born. As a human, at least, he could not control that. So the prophecies of Jesus and their fulfillment in Jesus are faith-building evidences for us. And they give us something to hang on to. And so I hope that you will continue to study those kinds of things. Read some of the other scriptures. Go back and reread some of these things and look up the scriptures that relate to the prophecies. I think you'll find that it'll be a real faith builder for you.